So I will be going over the lesson 10B practice problems. You only had to do the evens. If you are struggling with this homework, I advise that you watch this whole thing so you learn about it. And we'll be doing more of this next week since I'm seeing that some of us are forgetting some rules on multiplying variables or multiplying variables with exponents. So that goes back to your exponent rules, which we will go over next week. We will also be having assignments posted on Monday due Tuesday and then posted on Wednesday due Thursday, where Friday is like a brain break day, catch up on work day for any other class, hopefully not just mine, until further notice. Okay, so as long as you are staying organized, you can put this in your agenda, your calendar, your phone, that Mondays and Wednesdays I'll be posting things. They'll be due Tuesdays and Thursdays. All right, so looking at this, we have 3a times 4a in the numerator divided by 6 times 6a squared. So what I would first do is simplify your numerator and denominator. So the operation we have here is multiplication because of the parentheses that are next to each other. So numbers go with each other, and then variables go with each other. So 3 times 4 is 12. A times A is A squared. Okay, this is where the exponents have to come in. It's not just A. You're not just adding them, you're multiplying the A's. Okay, in the bottom we have 6 times 6 is 36. And then you just have the A squared because we can't combine letters with numbers. Now we're realizing that the numerator and denominator both have this A squared value. So what we can do is actually simplify it to 1. Right? When you divide something by itself, it's just 1. And then 12 divided by 36, you can leave it like this, or you can think about what goes into both. If you put this in a calculator, I'll probably give you an answer. You can divide both by 12, so this goes to 1, and this goes to 3. So the answer would be 1/3. And for that one, it is choice A. And you guys can find those answers on there. All right, number 4. Okay, same idea. This is multiplication, so we're going to do 2 times 4 is 8. And then these aren't like terms, so we're not going to use the exponent rules. We're kind of just going to leave it like this. Okay, you can only combine and use your exponent rules if it's the same variable or has the same base. The base is this. Plus, nothing happens to this. It's just a term. Okay, are these like terms? That's what you're thinking about to yourself. Are these like terms? Can I combine them, or am I going to just leave it like this? So do they both have an x squared? Yes. Do they both have a y squared? Yes. So they are like terms. So all I'm going to do is add the coefficients, which is the number in front. So I have how many x squared, y squares do I have? I have 14 of them. And you can look up what answer letter that is. All right, number 6. This is substitution. So substitution is when you just plug in the number and evaluate what the expression is equal to. This is like a skill you guys have been practicing. So wherever I see an A, I'm going to plug in a -2. Well, what's the operation between the 7 and the A? Multiplication. And then I have -2 squared, put it in parentheses. Whenever you substitute, you should be putting it in parentheses. Okay, so 7 times -2 is -14. Divided by -2 squared is a +4 plus a -2. We get -14 divided by 2, which is -7. And that's choice B. We're on number 6. So all this work should be shown and the letter choice. Next one. All right, same idea. We're plugging in 6 as P. It's okay if there's no value to plug in for R. We're just evaluating this expression when P is 6. So I'm only going to plug in for 6 for P. So 4 times P or 4 times 6 times 6 plus r divided by, this is multiplication, so 6r. So if I simplify this, I get 24 times 6 plus r over 6r. Okay, there's a few ways to simplify this. You can simplify the number in front first. So 24 divided by 6 is 4 if you want to do that. 4 would go in the numerator. So then we have 4 times 6 plus r over r. Let's see how they did it, the answer choices for this. This is number 8. Let's go back. So yeah, they distributed, so I might have to do another page. So we had 24 times 6, and you can go back on the video. 24 over 6 plus r over 6r. So then we cross this out, and 24 divided by 6 is just 4. And then we do have to use what property here? What's the property where we multiply the number inside? Distribute. So we do 24 plus 4r divided by r. Okay, and that is choice E. Good. So we can't simplify this anymore. They don't all have something in common. We can't cross out these r's because addition is being binded with those two terms. Every term has to have an r for us to divide by r. We can't just take these two away because the 4r is being combined with 24. So I can only simplify if they all have an r. So this is my answer. So this is choice E. And sorry, there's a lot of stray marks. All right, let's try this one. So now I have two numbers, C equals 1 and D equals 4. So let me do it in two different colors so you don't get confused. So C is 1. So wherever I see a C, I'm going to put a 1. So 1 times D, which is 4, squared, divided by C plus D, which is just 1 plus 4. 1, look at all my colors. Okay, so if I evaluate this, 1 times 4 is 4 squared, divided by 5. 4 squared is 16 divided by 5. That should be an answer. Yep, choice A. So some of these don't take too long. All right, same idea. We're going to plug in wherever we see an A, we're going to plug in 1. Wherever we see a B, we're going to plug in a negative 1. So we have, so I'm just going to highlight because it's annoying to use all these different colors. So here's where 1 is, here's where 1 is, here's where 1's going to go. Here's where negative 1's going to go, here's where negative 1's going to go, and here's where negative 1's going to go. And careful, that's a squared minus a B squared. So we have 1 times negative 1 plus 1 divided by negative 1 plus 1 squared minus negative 1 squared. So 1 times negative 1 is a negative 1. So you can put this in your calculator. If you don't have one, you can do it in your head because these numbers aren't big. We need to know your rules. A positive times a negative is a negative. A positive divided by a negative is also a negative. So 1 divided by negative 1 is also a negative 1. Plus 1 squared is just 1. Negative 1 squared is also 1, but it's a minus, so it's a minus a positive 1. So we have negative 1 plus negative 1 is negative 2 plus 1 minus 1. Negative 2 plus 1 is negative 1. Negative 1 minus 1 is negative 2. It sounds confusing, but negative 2 would be the answer. And you can check what letter that is. And then the last one, you don't have to do 16 because it's a little difficult. 14, you're kind of just rearranging terms. You're saying, I think it was put it in terms of A. What is the value of A in terms of B? Yeah, so if it says what is the value of A, you're solving for A with just B in the answer. So basically we have to get A by itself or isolate A. So we're going to use inverse operations to do that. So I want this by itself. So let's first move these terms. So subtract the 20b. And this was in my original video, I remember. So 7a equals 28 minus b minus 20b. And then you can look if you can combine terms. These both have a b in it. So it's technically minus 1 minus 20. So this would be minus 21b. And then you want a by itself. So what do you do to both sides to get a by itself? What's in front of it? It's a 7. The 7 is being multiplied. So you have to divide it, do the opposite to get it by itself. So a equals, and right here, if you notice, you can simplify this really nicely because 7 goes into 28 and it goes into 21. So 28 divided by 7 is 4 minus, and then 21 divided by 7 is 3, and then you just put the b there because the b doesn't get bothered. The b isn't bothered by the 7. Okay, so if you were having trouble with this, please take notes. Please fill this out. You'll get full credit from watching my video because I know you've watched my video and you should be able to, if you have any questions, you can comment or email me, and then next week we will practice this more. Okay, have a good weekend.